when you came to Midland, what was your favorite place to go?
In Midland, I love Midland, and I like your little park. And we had a park in our hometown, you know, and used to have cabins in the park, though, I think, you know, years ago. But I like it if we just didn't have so many Canada geese, you know.
So how much has it really changed since then? Like, what's different about Midland?
Pardon?
What's different about Midland from when you used to come here to now?
Well, I don't think it's changed that much, other than I say I think there used to be cabins that you could rent, and but they've done away with those. But no, I can't think of it having. That's why I like it, because it, you know, it's the same.
Okay. The British government sent you over to Canada so that you could be safe. Do you think that was a good decision? Or? At
the time, yes. But like as my dad said, if he had known the war was going to last as long as it did, he never would have sent us, you know, because it was hard on them. I don't know how my parents did it, you know, really, because like I came over on the Huronia, and we were the last shipload of kids to come because they torpedoed the one after us, and most of the children were drowned, and they were going to safety. And that happened too to kids going to Australia. They torpedoed their ship, but most of them were saved. So that was, you know, they stopped sending children.
Okay. What message would you like to leave regarding your life experiences to those of a younger generation?
Well, I think you have to appreciate what you've got today, your parents and your teachers. And, you know, one thing, as I say, at the cenotaph, I think you need to respect that those people gave their lives so that, you know, you could have a nice life growing up. So that's all I can think of.
Okay.
Is there anything else now that you've heard the rest of the story that you'd like to ask?
I have a question. You said that when you were over in Britain, you had a sweetheart that sent you an engagement ring, but after you came back, it didn't work out.
No.
I was just wondering, you said that eventually you were married. I just kind of wanted to know the story behind.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the rest of that.
You said that after you came back to Canada, you ended up getting married, and I'm just a little intrigued as to the story behind that, as to how you perhaps met the person.
Well, his mother made me give back the ring, you know. And I still had a lot of friends from high school, so eventually I got a place on my own, and I went and worked. They said the Bell or the Hydra was the best place to work, and so I applied at the Bell and got hired, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, you know. I worked various places, but I liked the Bell.
Okay. I was just, when you said that you got married,
Yeah, my husband was in the Air Force. That was one of the uniforms there. He was RCAF, attached to RAF in England, and they flew the bombers over to Berlin and bombed Berlin, you know. So that was kind of sad too, because I worked in a bank and I met one girl from Germany. Her name was Erica, and I said to her, you know, we're supposed to hate each other, but I don't hate you, and she didn't hate me. And she had a terrible experience because the Russians invaded Germany, and they took her out of their house, and right in front of her they shot her father and her brother, and so she and her mother managed to get on a freight train and get out of Germany. So, you know, they had it bad there too. I mean, that's why war's so terrible, because it's the civilians that sort of suffer. Well, the guys in the forces. My husband had to bail out a couple of times because plane got shot up, and another time another plane came up underneath his plane. They crashed, you know, and he had to jump out, and he jumped to the top of a tree. He thought he was in a bush, and he released his harness. That's when he got his injuries, you know, because he was up in a 40-foot tree. But, you know.
How did the two of you meet?
Pardon?
How did the two of you meet?
How did I ever meet him? At a dance on New Year's Eve, because I had been married before, and my husband was in the Army, and he was one of those that they called them the D-Day Dodgers, but they sent them, and they went to Sicily, and they worked their way up Italy, you know. And I know that one big, huge battle, I think it was called the Battle of the Casino or something, there's like 5,000 Canadians died just in that one spot. But and he came back, you know. Well, he was away 7 years. He was a paymaster, and he said that lots of times the Italians used to booby trap their houses, so you couldn't go and live in their houses. You had to sleep in ditches that were full of water and slush through the mud, and they worked their way from Sicily up Italy, you know. So he had died, and so I wasn't ever going to get married again. And then my friends wanted me to go to this dance, and they got me a blind date, you know. And Vernon happened to be there too with a kind of a blind date, and we just got together, you know. Neither of us were going to get married. We ended up 41 years later. And he just died about 10 years ago here in Midland, you know. That's why we moved to Midland. But
is there anything you'd like to add?
Pardon?
Is there anything you'd like to add that maybe
I can't think of anything. As I say, there's so much. When I went back to England, I saw the destruction. I mean, I guess you've heard of St. Paul's Cathedral. It was a big cathedral in London, and it was completely demolished all the way around the church, and the church didn't get hit, but everything else around it. And then one of the reasons I was evacuated, I think, there was like thousands applied, but then we were picked because you could only be Catholic or Anglican. Mackenzie King was the Prime Minister then, and he didn't want any Jewish children or any coloured people, which was terrible. But this little place I lived in, Enfield, was just 10 miles outside of London, and it was on what they called the flight path to Coventry. So they knew that if the bombers came over, they could miss London, and they were going to go after Coventry anyway. There was a munitions factory there, and so they said, get the kids out of your town, you know, because it was a dangerous zone. So, and then one time, I was picked to. They had a program called Calling All Britain, and I've got a picture there of an old microphone, and it was a Christmas Day, and yeah, in there. And this was a letter sent from the Queen to my foster parents, thanking them for looking after us, and it's signed by our present Queen, you know, there.